Welcome to this week's segment of the Ripoff of the Week. My name is Adam Andrzejewski, and I'm the CEO and founder of OpenTheBooks.com. The Ripoff of the Week segment is we describe instances where you're just not being taken advantage of as a taxpayer. You're just getting ripped off. And this week, we've got a great example, a $10 million congressional earmark for senatorial libraries. Before we get into the details, I just want to remind you of our mission at OpenTheBooks.com. Simply said, it's every dime online in real time. So you can follow the money, so you can hold them accountable for tax and spend decisions. All right, I want to introduce my co-host right now, Tamara Colbert. Hey, Tamara.
Hi, Adam. Thanks so much. So here we are, another ripoff of the week. We are going to finish the year strong, make sure everybody knows how to hold their political class accountable. These senators, Adam, are now spending big money, millions on themselves. What did Open the Books auditors find?
Monuments for me. These are U.S. senators that think they're so important, Tamara. And so they're giving themselves a Christmas gift at retirement. There are 6 retiring U.S. senators led by the appropriations chairman. The appropriations chairman is the one that gets to write the legislation to spend money, your money. It's Patrick Leahy, the U.S. senator. He's been there about 40 years, literally 40 years out of the state of Vermont. And we found that in the 2022 legislative appropriation, he's put a $10 million earmark in there for the 6 retiring U.S. senators for their senatorial libraries to archive their paperwork in libraries. And guess what, Tamara? You, the taxpayer, you're paying the bill.
Well, what was interesting that you note in your Forbes column this week is that these senators claimed that this was a, quote, burden. That's in the legislation. They had a burden with millions in campaign coffers, most likely, especially for somebody who's been in the Senate for 40 years. How does this work? Isn't this audacious for them to get this money?
See, Patrick Leahy knew he was retiring. So what he did is he wrote to the Secretary of the Senate and he asked them to study this issue. Of course, they came back and said, yeah, this is a problem when senators retire to archive their paperwork. It's a burden on the poor public servant, a public servant that has been making hundreds of thousands of dollars and has accumulated a lifetime public pension paid for by you and me, the taxpayer. It's a burden on them to archive their paperwork at the end of the day. And so, boom, Leahy wrote it into the legislative appropriation. He's going to solve that problem with your money. Tamara, there's no money available. We're pushing $30 trillion on the national debt.
Absolutely. You're exactly right. So one of the Republicans who's already got his library on the way up, there's a little bit of a scandal attached to him. Who is it?
So that's got to be Richard Burr out of North Carolina.
Absolutely.
So, back at the height of the pandemic, he was the chairman of a key Senate committee, and the allegation is that in one day he traded his own stocks up to 2/3 of his entire investment portfolio. 32 different transactions. He sold stock ahead of the market decline, ahead of the pandemic in March and February of 2022. Now, the SEC declined to prosecute. The FBI, the DOJ, they investigated, they declined to prosecute, but he did leave that chairmanship. It hasn't stopped Wake Forest, that college, from creating the Richard Burr Center and touting his integrity as a lawmaker. And so this earmark for $10 million, this would help Richard Burr archive his Senate paperwork and establish the Richard Burr Center at Wake Forest.
So this is not the first time you referenced this at the beginning of our Ripoff of the Week segment. This is not the first time that senators have tried to do the monuments to me. Give us another example and talk about one of our favorite friends.
So Patrick Leahy also has the House Center in Vermont all lined up to accept his paperwork for a center for himself, a monument for me over there in Vermont. And then you've got the Republican down in Alabama, Richard Shelby, and Shelby's got at the University of Alabama a center lined up to take his paperwork. So it's Republicans and Democrats getting on this monument to me gravy train, paid for again by you, the American taxpayer, to the tune of $10 million. Now, look, Tamara, you and I, we, all of our supporters here at openthebooks.com, we walk with the legacy, the robust legacy of former U.S. Senator Dr. Tom Coburn, who's also the immediate past honorary chairman of openthebooks.com. Obviously, Coburn passed now, incredibly, almost 2 years ago in March of 2020. But Coburn battled these things. He battled the monuments to me. He called out his fellow United States senators when they tried to name buildings and other things after themselves. And right now, you know, we're standing locked arm in arm with Coburn's legacy as we battle this $10 million earmark, the monuments to me earmark for these retiring U.S. senators.
So, Adam, what we've got fired up people, what can they do right now to make their voices heard? So first
off, go to the chat. Our producer, Chazelle, she has posted the link to the Forbes column. Read it, get familiar with it, understand how this thing works. We found this because we read the bill. Share this column. Let's blow it up on social media. And then call your member of Congress, including these 5 retiring Republican U.S. senators, and let's raise holy hell. This is absolute waste. We shouldn't be paying for this stuff. It sets bad precedent. We got to stop this earmark.
Absolutely. Wow. If that isn't enough for you guys to go to openthebooks.com, you can read the article there, but go to Forbes.com and look up Adam's weekly column. It is amazing. And by the way, we're going to finish the year with some incredible investigations, 14 in total. Hold on to your hat. It's going to be the last few weeks of 2021 are going to be quite a few fireworks, Adam. What else do you need anybody to do?
We got a lot of good stuff coming down the pike, and it is the end of the year season. So please keep openthebooks.com and your giving plans. More donations equal more investigations, and we'll showcase those investigations right here on the Ripoff of the Week.
Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you next week at 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central. Thanks for coming in.